Dirt Trax is sponsored by Can-Am. We're built for this. Polaris, the world leader in off-road innovation. And by Yamaha, conquer outdoors.
In last week's episode, we talked to you about the history and evolution of the Polaris Scrambler. And this week, we'll go deeper into the new 55-inch wide Polaris Sportsman and Scrambler 1000S.
So project engineering, what that entails is project management. So really what I'm responsible for is ensuring that every system engineer, every essentially design aspect, every schedule target is communicated, it's known, we're tracking together cohesively. It's kind of more of a collaborative approach. Most engineers, the stereotype is we don't talk to each other, and we definitely don't know how to talk to other people. So part of that is to bring the group together, kind of unite in what that vision's going to be and execute it as a team. Actually, I came on just after there was some of that initial thought process of what those 1000S models might look like, what those might be. The early stages of that design, I was not a part of. However, coming onto it, just getting a feel from the individuals on that initial creation helped me actually get a good foothold with the overall vision of what we wanted that machine to be. So it was my understanding at that time that we wanted, a powerful machine that really caught the consumer's eye. It was different. It might have looked the same as, what we see today with the body plastic, but there's just something about it that really made it stick out. And it wasn't just the suspension. It really made you take kind of hyper-focused look at it and just kind of do a double take.
We started this new platform without the constraints of the width and wheelbase of a traditional ATV due to the fact that there's many more side-by-sides on the trail and the trails are open for this size of vehicle. So the idea was to build something that was so much better with so much more travel, 14 inches of travel in the rear, 14.5 inches of ground clearance, that there was nothing like it on the market. It's basically, the goal was to build the ultimate ATV without the limitations of the traditional size of an ATV.
What we've done at Polaris as a whole is we've always tried to find these spots that nobody's playing in and where can we move into and get a loyal customer and keep that customer for life. To us, if you've got a Sportsman or a Scrambler, what can we do to keep you happy and bring you back to the brand? Programs are super expensive to do, so you gotta leverage as much as you can, and those are two very distinctive brands. The Scrambler guy recognizes himself something different of the Sportsman guy in usage and probably character. So if I can take that same basic package and really do two segments off of it, I increase my volume, and I think there's opportunity there that there's two different people, Even from a showroom standpoint, not all dealers stock both products. If you just did it as a Scrambler, some people might never see it, or they recognize it, it's a sports machine, and I really need something with racks. I need to work some of the time, but you can still play pretty good on the Sportsman we've got today. Some of the other competitors, they're nipping at us all the time, and you have to do that in order to keep ahead. But everybody's making a good product right now, so where do you go to keep ahead of those guys and keep the customer like, those guys at Polaris are always thinking different. When I first came to Polaris in Canada, we had like an 86 Polaris Trail Boss, and nobody knew what it was. It was like, this is a snowmobile on wheels. What is that thing? So you look at where we were, that we were not cool. Polaris was not a cool brand. Now you get Razor, we're kind of cool. Now you're starting to look at ATVs like, I would ride that thing in the desert, Again, go back to the press thing. We're riding ATVs? Yeah. We're riding Sportsman? Yeah. It's not just a work thing. You can actually have a lot of fun in this, and it is a high-performance vehicle out in the desert. Again, try to move the brand into something different or expand the brand into something different. It's not just work vehicles, like something fun, super exciting.
The thing that's really frustrating lately, since side-by-sides have become such a big deal, is the tracks are so wide. If you try to drive a modern 48-inch ATV on trails that side-by-sides are on, which is almost all of them now, you're like this all the time. You're always leaned over. The 55-inch width, even though it's not quite out there with side-by-side, it straddles the track so much better. So you got that aspect of it. Plus more travel, the 1000 cc engine, you can go over 80 miles an hour, and those big tires, you can hang with anybody and you can pass pretty much any side-by-side out there. So it's just a really fun vehicle to ride. I think once people start riding it, I think this is really gonna take off. I think it's gonna become the norm for ATVs. So I definitely expect some competition to be coming. As long as we stay in front of them, I don't care.
Dirt Trax is sponsored by Princess Auto, a unique world of equipment, tools, and more. Closed captioning of Dirt Trax is sponsored by MBRP Power Sports, race-inspired performance.
The passion behind this project was huge, and that comes from a dedicated engineering team at Polaris who don't just want to make a product good, they want to make it better in every way. But that doesn't come without its challenges.
There are a lot of challenges with making an ATV wider, longer, and more travel. It sounds like it's pretty simple to do, just put some longer A-arms on it and call it done. But there's many problems that come with that. This is in no particular order, but one thing was now you're going through more travel, bump steer becomes a big issue. And with all ATVs, that's a challenge because you have a center steering post, and then you still have to, especially four-wheel drive ATVs, you have to have room for the front drive. And that ends up making your tie rods way longer than your control arms, and that gives you a bunch of bump steer. And bump steers, as you go through travel, the wheels are turning, right? So we brought back something from the Predator days, the Pro steering, which is we have the linkage steering in that system that completely eliminates the bump steer on the Sportsman S. So that was one challenge. Just because we made it wider, we still didn't clear anything because we went and then put way bigger tires on it. So clearances to headlights and plastic and all that stuff is always a challenge. To add more travel and put bigger tires on it, you're running into more things. So there was definitely some things we had to do to the plastic, and that's part of the reason too why Sportsman and Scrambler have different front suspension travels, because they have different plastics, and we got the most travel we could out of the clearances we had. Then a big thing is anytime you give a chassis more capability, when you add more travel, you give it bigger tires, now you can go faster over everything. And that greatly increases the loads. So if we wouldn't have completely reinforced that chassis, we would have ripped it apart. If you just put this suspension onto a Sportsman XP, it wouldn't make it. We had to beef up the frame, we had to beef up the control arms, we had to beef up the steering. Everything had to get bigger to be able to handle going 80 miles an hour through some of the nastiest terrain you've ever seen.
So previous to this project, I work on the ACE projects. Where we ended up with ACE, with the 900XC, was very similar in size and capability of the 55-inch Sportsman and Scrambler. That project, though, had an overstructure. That vehicle had an overstructure which changed the loading into the chassis, where in a traditional ATV, you can only have so big of a structure in the middle because you have to sit on top of it. So that introduced a bunch more challenges as far as handling the loading of the vehicle.
While there were hills to climb, Polaris Engineering were able to see this project through to fruition and bring an ATV to market that is second to none. But the people at Polaris are no dummies. They know that competition is never far behind.
You have to be constantly wargaming where you think those guys are going to go. We're the leader, and they're going to follow us into these segments. Where do we think they're going to go, and then where do we move that we can take advantage of that? We've got size and we got volume now, and we don't want to slow down, so we got to keep going fast, and how do we stay ahead of those? So I would say we're constantly wargaming all the competition.
At the 55-inch width, I think there will be other players coming into that market. I think it just took someone to start. Nobody else did it. All these ATVs are similar width. Wheelbases vary between 1-up and 2-up vehicles, but they're all the same width, basically 45 to 50 inches wide. And now that we've done this and we've showed it and we've worked with state governments to get this vehicle classified and trail legal in most of the states, I think others will follow.
The ATV marketplace is not dead, and Polaris is dedicated to this new 55-inch chassis in its current configuration of Sportsman and Scrambler 1000S, but quite possibly into a whole lot more as well.
Gonna lead the pack. It's gonna be out there, like I mentioned, and to actually see it next to a side-by-side, and whether that be out in the desert or on the trails, this thing can really rip. So I'm really excited to see where it goes, especially in the race scene. I think there might be an opportunity there. It is really going to be a significant difference.
I think you could look at all kinds of spaces where the extra width could help us out if we expand it. From a financial standpoint, strictly, you want to leverage that chassis to go in lots of different areas. But yeah, we have all kinds of things cooking to expand on the whole business in general. We're not done with ATV at all.
Dirt Trax is sponsored by Shock Strap. Start strapped, stay strapped.
In last week's episode, I gave our very capable Maverick Trail some trail-friendly accessories to help us go the distance. And this week, I'll be continuing with a few more unique products from KIMPEX that you may not have known exist for this popular 50-inch side-by-side. And first things first, I wanted to add a little bit of color to our already cool-looking black and yellow Bumblebee. And HMF, well, they've got a bumper product that's going to do just that. Okay, so really they aren't designed just to add good looks, they are hugely functional as well. And this IQ Defender HD front bumper is made from 0.095-inch steel tubing and powder-coated in a wide variety of colors to match your rig. The wide-span front tubes reach far out past the suspension and direct trees and trail junk over the fenders, not directly into the suspension. There is a wide-span mounting surface with multiple elongated holes to allow for your whip, fog, or spotlights, or really anything else that you might desire to mount up front. And because we're running synthetic rope on our 3,500-pound KIMPEX winch, we can use the wide limbs of the bumper to wrap our synthetic cable around for easy retrieval when we're playing without worry of chipping that nice-looking powder coat. The rear end of a Maverick Trail is, well, fairly unprotected, but as you can see, HMF and their IQ series of bumpers has an answer for us here as well. The IQ rear bumper is pretty much the same spec as up front. It's 0.095 steel tube with a wide tube limb and lower structural cross brace. The rear bumper mounts up to factory locations and does not require any drilling, unlike the front bumper. This IQ bumper works with the stock exhaust as well as HMF's own, and we imagine it'll probably work with a wide variety of aftermarket systems on the market as well. The powder coat comes in the same as up front and really gives the mostly colorless and protection-lacking rear end a good dose of color, style, and functionality. While there are no light tabs on the rear bumper, the tube frame allows for tube clamp light mounts to be used should you want to add rearward-facing lights. Now with all that talk about light, I don't want to miss out, but I'm not going to put lights on our front bumper, I'm going to put an LED light bar up top, and the one that I'm using is a KIMPEX 60 LED curved light bar. The reason I'm using curved is because it doesn't just throw light straight forwards, it also illuminates to the sides. There are a wide variety of light bars available from just about every manufacturer and brand in the market, but I like KIMPEX because of their 6000K daylight color temp, 50,000 plus hour lifespan, and their IP68 rated waterproof sealed housings. That means that you're not going to have water intrusion inside of the aluminum chassis, and with the supplied fused and relayed wiring harness that includes an illuminated switch, you're sure to get yourself up and running in no time and don't have to search for the proper harness or switch to go along with your light bar. It's all there. Mounting is easy with generic L-shaped brackets and installed cleanly and easily with the ample harness length, and the light produced, well, it's able to throw some serious candle power thanks to those 60 Cree LEDs. Now this is a great looking rig and I'm really happy with how it's turning out, but I couldn't help but think that having great quality audio as I'm cruising down the trail would really add to my riding experience. And the crew over at SSV Works are the leaders in off-road side-by-side sound. They build custom-fit kits for just about every make and model in the market, and that includes our little Maverick Trail with their 2-speaker MT2A system. Everything is included in one box. You don't need anything else except for a bit of time and a few tools to get your tunes pumping out on the trails. The direct fit dash kit seamlessly mounts our MRB3 Bluetooth receiver in the dash of our Trail, and the system brain fits completely out of the way up under the dash with a vehicle-specific brain tray. Now with other manufacturers, you may have to fish wires or cut through things that you really don't want to cut through. But when it comes to SSV Works, it's simple plug-and-play harnesses and only a couple of 1/4-inch holes to get your speaker pods installed in the footwells. And the speaker pods in this kit are their premium WP A6 speakers. They're powerful and rugged with a unique locking connector and 120-watt peak power pushing through a 6.75-inch speaker, as well as a 25mm titanium tweeter for clear and crisp highs, even with a helmet, motor, and wind noise. These things push some serious sound. The face of the speaker is guarded, and the speaker itself features EPDM duo-lock gaskets to keep the water and mud out and the speaker pressure in. The speaker housings are built of thick injection molded plastic and feature molded-in nuts to make mounting very simple and quick. And while each part itself is very thought out, it's truly the combination of this kit that provides superior sound in a seamless and factory-looking package at an affordable price. I'm really impressed with how this Maverick Trail build turned out, and when I set out to do these builds, I want to do it with parts that I would actually use myself. And with the help of KIMPEX, I've been able to show you just that.
Dirt Trax is sponsored by Argo. Go anywhere.
I don't think there's any question about it anymore. CFMOTO has, in my opinion, become this industry's official 8th manufacturer. Their unit sales alone would qualify them for this title in my opinion, but they also have a respectable dealer network, especially in Canada, and their products are legit. Take for example this UFORCE 1000 EPS LX. It's aimed directly at Polaris's Ranger XP 1000 and Can-Am's Defender HD10. The only real question we have to answer today is, can it stand up to its competition? Let's take a look at why the UFORCE 1000 EPS LX belongs in this category in the first place. Then we'll take a look at why we at Trax think it definitely is worthy to be positioned in this class. CFMOTO has spec'd the UFORCE 1000 with a 963cc 8-valve V-twin that pumps out 79 claimed horsepower. This right here is why the UFORCE 1000 belongs in a class with Polaris's Ranger XP 1000 and Can-Am's Defender HD10, and not in a class with Polaris's new Ranger 1000 or Honda's Pioneer 1000, which both make between 60 and 70 horsepower respectively. A CVT transmission by CVTech handles the power from the big V-twin effortlessly and provides exceptionally smooth forward motivation and quick backshifting. A dash-mounted knob handles the 2x4 to 4x4 and 4x4 lock selection duties. Truth is, this is a great powertrain no matter how you look at it. I will say this in regards to overall power delivery though. Throttle tip-in is a little on the aggressive side, and while you can baby it and accelerate from a stop smoothly on the trail, in the bumps when your foot is less stable, the throttle can be quite jerky. It's not a huge deal, but it's definitely something CFMOTO could improve on. The UFORCE 1000 does give up a little to its competition in terms of suspension though. Double A-arms front and rear with arched lower front arms is a nice touch and gives you added ground clearance. I'd love to tell you how much travel it has, but those numbers are not listed anywhere. So I'm just going to speculate a bit. Overall ground clearance is 11.4 inches. Tires are 27 inches total diameter. Total wheel travel has to be somewhere between 8 and 9 inches, which isn't anything to write home about, but once on the trail, it feels like more, and it's very plush travel that provides a more than adequately comfortable ride. In terms of comfort, there is loads of it here. Power steering makes handling light and easy. The seating position is upright, but that's typical for this class of vehicle, and the driver's seat and steering wheel are both adjustable. Everything on the dash is in easy reach, and the gauge is a nice looking unit that provides more than enough information in an easy to read layout. But where the UFORCE 1000 really stands out from its competition is in the included amenities category. It doesn't take much investigation to see that this vehicle comes fully loaded. Where its competition offer just the basics, CFMOTO offers the whole package right from the factory. A 3,500-pound wireless winch, front-mounted 2-inch hitch receiver, roof, 3/4 doors, rear view and side mirrors, turn signals, great-looking 14-inch aluminum wheels wrapped in 27-inch tires, and, believe it or not, heated seats are not options. They all come pre-installed. Keep in mind, this vehicle also costs less than its competition, but we'll talk more about that later. For now, I do need to bring up a couple things that are definitely in need of improvement. First, there is a flip-down center-mounted cup holder in the middle of the seats, which is great and a feature we really like on the competition. However, this unit is super flimsy. It flexes like crazy and gives off a super cheap vibe. Regardless of value pricing, this is just not acceptable. Next, the doors. These are some of the nicest doors I've ever seen on a side-by-side. Fully finished on the inside with excellent latches, and they look amazing. But the way they're mounted and where the latch is located leaves the lower half free to flop around like a half-baked salmon. I wouldn't trade the floppy doors for nets, but if you're going to put a nice set of doors on a fully loaded side-by-side, make sure they're sturdy. This setup is, again, just not acceptable at any price. Next, let's take a look at the actual utility functions of the UFORCE 1000, and let's start with one of its more unique features, a 2-inch hitch receiver, not just on the back, but also on the front. If you've never used a front-mounted hitch, you can't appreciate how useful it can be. Of course, the cargo box is the most important utility feature of any utility side-by-side, and this one is excellent. 1,000 pounds capacity, good size, one-handed tailgate, and lots of tie-down points. Now it's time to talk about price, or more importantly, value. This is one area where CFMOTOs have traditionally gained huge bonus points, and it's no different with the UFORCE 1000. That's a difference of almost $5,000 US before taxes. Add to this that in Canada you get an extended 5-year warranty, and it is impossible to deny that the UFORCE 1000 EPS LX is an incredible value. CFMOTO has traditionally hung its hat on the value aspect of their vehicles, but after testing the UFORCE 1000 EPS LX, I have to say that it's also a very competitive vehicle in the full-size utility side-by-side class as well. Is it right for you? Well, that's entirely up to you, but definitely consider this. You can do a lot with an extra $5,000 in your jeans.
Dirt Trax has been sponsored by Polaris, the world leader in off-road innovation. Can-Am, we're built for this. And by Hercules Tire, ride in our strength.
Thanks for watching Dirt Trax TV. If you liked the video that you just saw, please click the like button as well as comment below. You can subscribe to our page right here and also ring the bell if you want to be notified of any future videos coming out on Dirt Trax TV's YouTube page.